Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I wanted to do a Q&A video, so I got a lot of questions here from Discord. And so first of all, I guess thank you so much to everyone who posted questions. A lot of these questions here are going to be about episode 19, but obviously episode 20 as well, which I do want to point out, there is some online reaction right now to episode 20. I'm not going to get into it here really, but it seems like there's some very, very positive things to say about episode 20. That just makes me very hyped for the episode. So anyways, before we go any further, obviously, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. Also, please be aware that this video will contain spoilers for episode 19, which is the episode that aired last Sunday, but let's actually get into this here. So, Q&A, has Negan ever said the word walkers? Wow, actually, I would have to, I'm assuming so. Actually, do like any characters say walkers nowadays? I'm gonna have to think about that actually, because I don't know if he's ever referred to them as walkers, because I don't think he would have in the very beginning, because that's something that our characters do, right? Now, maybe, in more recent seasons, but I don't know, because he's never really been in a situation where he would just sort of refer to them as that. So, man, I don't even know. Honestly, there's a good chance he probably has never said that word. Q&A, do you think Judith will ever tell Daryl about Michonne finding signs of Rick being alive? That's like the big question. I think she's going to tell him eventually. I could see it being a possibility even in this season here. It's just, I don't see Judith being the one to tell him first. Like, I kind of see it being a thing where Daryl finds out first, and maybe he doesn't find out that Michonne knew or anything like that. Maybe he just finds out some proof that he's alive, and then, he goes to tell Judith, and then Judith is like, yeah, I know already. That's where my mom went. And so, we'll get a scene play out like that. But yeah, but in terms of her telling him, and that's how he finds out, I feel like if it happens now, it's just a little too crazy and weird, because, like, why not last season, right? Like, they're just sort of holding on to it for no reason at this point. So I think that Daryl's going to find out some other way, and yeah. Do you think Pamela will take Sebastian's arc into comics and kill a major character? I'm just going to say no. There's not a lot that you can do with that ending, to be honest. Like, maybe. It's a little too early to say, because I just don't see Pamela being like that. So, if I were to answer that, I'm really just sort of saying whatever, throwing out a random answer, and I just don't really see it right now. I see Pamela Milton still basically being the same character from the comic. Do you think that Eugene will receive a pardon if one of our people take over the Commonwealth, or do you see him being killed off? Well, I don't see him being killed off, for sure. I think that'd be a little crazy. In terms of receiving a pardon, it really does depend. Right? Like, it really, the thing is, I just kind of see him not being in a position to receive a pardon, because I think he'll just be allowed to be set free. Because the thing that's happening to Eugene right now is he's basically being prosecuted, but he's basically only going through that so that in the end they're going to kill him. Like, that's the end result here, right? And so they're not going to kill off Eugene. I just don't believe it. So I think something's going to happen towards the end where he gets out of that situation, where there's a riot, or there's like the crazy stuff is happening at the Commonwealth, and he's able to break out, sort of leave. And then I just kind of feel like they're going to deal with the Pamela Milton situation, and then afterwards it'll just sort of be forgotten about. How do you think they will break out Lance? Will they set up a distraction? Well, I feel like they're probably going to get caught, but they'll just deal with those people, right? Like, there could be Commonwealth soldiers that do catch them, but they'll just deal with them. That's actually a really good point. It's something that I thought about in the trailer. Like, you see a lot of shots of Pamela. I don't think we're going to see a lot of Pamela going to see Lance. Maybe in the very beginning we see her go and visit Lance, but I kind of view it like Pamela's going to be dealing with some stuff with Yumiko and some stuff with Eugene. And at the very end, like, a shot like this is basically maybe the end of the episode where she's going down there to go see Lance, but Lance is gone. Q&A, do you think the variant walkers will become more important or appear more in the new spin-offs? Well, definitely. Like, I don't know about Isle of the Dead, or Isle of the Dead. I'm never gonna get used to calling it Dead City. Like, because they called it Isle of the Dead originally, I'm always gonna refer to it as that. It's honestly really hard to kind of switch it until we've just seen or heard the name, I guess, and just have lived with the show for a while. But in Dead City, like, I just don't see us really ever dealing with those kind of walkers, because I think the whole situation there is the fact that there's 1 million or 2 million walkers, like, in the streets, and they're all living on rooftops basically, right? And ziplining from building to building. So I think that's more of the big thing here, and the Daryl show's probably going to deal with it, and then the Rick and Michonne TV show I think will deal with it as well. But yeah, it depends. I mean, for sure the Daryl one, right? Like, that's going to be a totally different walker. Q&A, since we didn't get much about the variant walkers in the previous episode, do you think that we'll see more of them this season, or are they going to leave it for the spinoffs? I hope we see more of it this season. If that was the end of that, I'm definitely very disappointed, like for sure disappointed. It's cool to see that, and it's cool to show us stuff like that, but we need to see a lot more of that. It can't just be, like, honestly, just looking at that episode as well, I enjoyed the episode. Like I said, I enjoyed the episode. I still think it's basically as good as episode 17. Maybe I'd rank it a little bit lower, like just a little bit, because honestly, I really did like the Varian Walker scenes, and I liked a lot of stuff that happened in the episode, but I was disappointed with the lack of Varian Walkers. I think that there should have been a lot more, and the scene just happened so fast, honestly. I felt like it was like 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, not even. So I hope that we get a lot more. I hope that they do appear this season, and it's just one of those things where it's like, maybe they just did that just for the sake of doing that, just for a callback, and that's basically it. And if that's the case, yeah, definitely very disappointed. Q&A, is it possible that we see Jadis in the last episodes and she brings up where Rick went to a major character like Daryl or Carol? Yeah, I definitely think it's possible. I just don't know, because it would be really crazy to do something like that, but you would have to have it make sense as well, right? And I just don't know with Jadis's position if she's going to be doing that, because that kind of feels like it's not what the character would be dealing with right now. But then again, we don't really understand a lot of what Jadis is doing, what her position is and stuff. So maybe it's possible. But I just don't see Jadis telling them where he is or anything like that. I'm not saying we're not going to see Jadis. I think it's possible. I just don't know if she's going to be the one that brings up Rick, unless she's like held captive or something and Daryl's like really wanting answers. So yeah, I don't know about that. Q&A, do you see Rick ever killing Jadis? I guess it depends on the situation. I don't know why. For me, I kind of feel like it's not going to be Rick, but it's going to be like Major General Beale or something like that. Q&A, apparently Andrew Lincoln was spotted at the back of the stage at New York Comic Con. What are your opinions / thoughts on this? I don't believe that's even true. I think some people were saying that it could have been someone dressed up as him or dressed up as Rick Grimes who just looked a lot like him. I don't think Andrew Lincoln was there, because I feel like if he was there, he would have made an appearance. It makes no sense to show up just for that. So Q&A, do you think that the CRM will send Daryl and Carol to France, but they'll be separated in season 1, and Daryl will have to find her while trying to figure out how he gets there? No, I don't think that's going to be the storyline at all. I think Carol's storyline here is basically just, I'm going to stay at Alexandria or the Commonwealth, wherever she's planning to stay. I think Daryl goes out on his own and gets separated. As for how Carol goes back on that show, I think they'll probably do something like Carol went to go look for him, and then just, she learns of where he went, this and that. And it depends, because Daryl could come back to the States, right, in season 2. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Q&A, do you think Negan will turn into old Negan if Annie dies? Yeah, I do think so. There's been a lot of talk about that, actually, just in general from the cast and whatnot, of Negan turning into that older character. And I think it's very possible. I think it would be super awesome to actually have that old version of the character come back. I think it would be so cool. So yeah, I think if Annie dies, definitely he's going to be really pissed off. Q&A, do you think The Last of Us will beat The Walking Dead in viewership or be more popular? In terms of being more popular, no, I don't see it being more popular. Like, in terms of ratings next year, in terms of viewership, yeah, I see it being bigger because it's a new franchise. So, there's not a lot of, I guess technically some people don't like the games, but I see that show being very, very successful next year. Definitely beating The Walking Dead, which I don't think is a bad thing to say, because The Walking Dead, it's had its prime. I still think what's coming in the future with the show or with the series is if anything better than what we've gotten previously. It's just a much bigger story with the CRM and having Rick back and dealing with all of that. But again, I'm a huge fan of The Walking Dead, right? I do think The Last of Us, for sure, in terms of viewership, it will beat The Walking Dead. In terms of what's more popular, I'm pretty sure The Walking Dead is still more popular. Q&A, do you think Carol could potentially kill off Lance if he starts to betray her in episode 20? Yeah, I could see that, definitely. If Lance is trying to do something like that, I wouldn't... Like, Carol, for sure, I could see totally doing that. Q&A, so now that we have more of an idea on the show's story in the future, has your thoughts on the ending of the show changed? If so, how? I guess my thoughts on the ending of the show have sort of overall changed throughout this last year. I think in the beginning of the year, I sort of believed that they could do, or maybe it was last year, but I'm pretty sure in the beginning of the year, I kind of believed that they could do a time jump of like 20, 25 years, and that maybe they could show Rick, and that it wouldn't really necessarily spoil the ending, or spoil, I guess, his spin-off show, I guess at that point, the movies, right? Now that I'm sort of at this point here, though, I definitely disagree with that. I think if Rick were to show up here, in the final episode, it would spoil so much, right? If we knew that he survived. So in terms of an actual ending, I don't think Rick's going to show up. I think they're going to find out stuff still. I don't know how they're planning to end it. I can't really picture it, to be honest. I think we're just too far out still. Once we're on episode 21 or 22, then we'll understand a little bit more. But it kind of feels like there's something missing here with the story. Like, again, like kind of like the CRM plot. It just feels like there's something missing here with the story, that there's not a big thing at stake here, you know, in terms of keeping the Commonwealth here. Because technically, if you look at the end of episode 18, right, or not the end of episode 18, but sort of early in episode 18, that was it basically, right? Like everyone just sort of dealt with whatever Lance was going to be held in that cell. And Pamela Milton was like, yeah, all of you guys are fine. So technically that was probably the end, right? Just like right there, that's the ending, because everyone's going to live happily ever after, just follow the Commonwealth rules. And that's it, right? And it's kind of weird that, you know, Eugene and Max play that tape over the intercom or whatever, and then Sebastian dies. And now we're seeing some characters going missing because Pamela Milton's pretty upset about that. So I kind of think that this is now where we're going. We're going into this final part of the story where we're going to learn what exactly is the end game here and how do you wrap up all of this stuff here. So that's why I think with all these things that you have to wrap up with the story, that's why I think the CRM stuff sort of wraps everything up. Like, it's such an easy way to make it like, well, the big issue here has been, you know, people going missing, this and that. Basically, Pamela Milton and Lance and everyone else like that can't be in charge anymore, so they just gotta take them down. And once you do that, I mean, every problem with every character basically goes away. And yeah, that's kind of why my view on the ending changed quite a bit. Like, I just don't see them doing a time jump at all. Or if they do one, it's gonna be like 6 months to like a year later or something like that. But again, I still don't see it being that much. Q&A, who do you think will be the president of the Commonwealth since Maggie will be going to New York? It's probably going to be someone that we don't know. It's going to be some other character that's like, honestly, kind of unrelated to everything. I mean, honestly, I don't really know who could take that position. I see Maggie taking the position much later. In terms of just what happens now, maybe it's Yumiko. You know, I could totally see Yumiko taking that position. Besides that, though, I honestly, it's kind of hard to predict. But I mean, if I had to pick one character, I guess it would be Yumiko. But again, it would have to be an election. It could be a random character we don't know yet, right? Like, I imagine they're going to have it done properly like that, right? And not just pick Yumiko or whoever. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But anyways, I'm going to leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.